This is why crabs hate stingrays. Hello lovely YouTube family, welcome back to Reality Binge. In today's video, we are going to talk about this is why crabs hate stingrays. Before we start, I would want you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. In 1970, sharks were protected in Port Phillip Bay, and spider crabs could assemble there once a year knowing they had nothing to fear. However, the ocean began to change over the next 50 years. More than 71% of sharks have just vanished. Crabs had difficult circumstances. Examine it more closely. This is a massive graveyard. Is it possible for a few stingrays to perform something like this every year? In the harbor near Melbourne, a great event takes place. Hundreds of thousands of huge spider crabs assemble and march down the bottom, not for the aim of putting on a beautiful show, though it certainly seems amazing. Spider crabs aren't always simple to notice. They use camouflage to blend in with their environment, but it's difficult to notice when a swarm of these crabs is coming towards you. Is it an Australian underwater Comic-Con or a music festival for crabs? The explanation is straightforward. Crabs congregate in the bay to shed their old skin in order to develop. They need to get rid of their old exoskeletons in order to develop, but the new exoskeleton takes several days to solidify. Furthermore, crabs are so weak after molting that some are unable to stand, which is where the stingrays come in. They know crabs won't be able to defend themselves, and without a hard shell, they'll be easy prey. Stingrays literally suck them into their mouths like spaghetti, but wait! How do stingrays understand who they need to eat and where their prey is? I'm not questioning their hunting skills, but crabs are well. How do I put it below the mouth of the stingray, underneath the body, but its eyes are at the top? After all, stingrays can't keep turning over to check whether the prey has escaped. Consider doing somersaults before biting into a sandwich. The stingrays used a particular organ to find a route out. They are able to sense little electric currents emitted by other species. This organ is known as the ampullae of Lorenzini, and it looks like tubes inside the fish's body. In a nutshell, those are additional noses that aid in the detection of even the tiniest changes in the electric field. As a result, no eyes are required. It's easy to open your mouth, therefore it's no surprise that hiding from a hungry stingray is nearly hard. If it wants to eat a crab, it will get one, especially when there are hundreds of them around. There will be so many crabs around that you won't be able to gaze at them all year. The population is undoubtedly affected by such honesty. Occasionally, just a few hundred crabs make it through the molting process. Crabs should fight back even if natural selection is working against them. Perhaps smarter species are discarding their old exoskeletons elsewhere. Crabs, however, have no option. When natural mechanisms are aroused, they have no option. Port Phillip Bay, as weird as it may sound, is the safest area to do this. Individual crabs are less likely to be eaten when thousands of them clump together like little fish in large schools. Yes, there's no such thing as a promise. You will be the one to survive, not the one on the left, but at least you have the chance. Crabs may try to frighten predators away on occasion. How else would you explain the massive pyramids they erect at the bottom? Scientists are still unsure what this structure means, but I believe it is a protective mechanism. It's the same as when an animal stands on its hind legs to seem larger and scarier. I doubt it helps, but stingrays are likely to view a pile of crabs the same way we view a pile of cheeseburgers. Whatever happened to them, they were tragic victims of natural selection. But how did the stingrays figure out that molting season was the ideal time for a lavish feast? Although stingrays are fish, and I'll give you a second to comprehend this, they have improved their intelligence. This is particularly true in the case of manta rays. Manta rays are the world's biggest stingrays, with a wingspan of up to 23 feet in diameter. It's difficult to quantify a creature with such an unusual form. Manta rays are similar to whales, and in the stingray world, they even eat plankton, but their intellect is what sets them apart. Manta rays, according to some studies, can even detect their own reflection. Only a few animals, including humans, are capable of doing so. Manta rays are our distant and flat relatives, and I wouldn't be shocked if they were. Other stingrays, on the other hand, have learned to utilize tools. When you're a stingray, you don't have very many limbs, therefore it could be difficult. So you don't have anything to grasp the stick with, but you can make a stream of water to remove food trapped behind the stone. Stingrays may be highly inventive when it comes to hunting strategies. For example, if a stingray chose to eat a fish in the tank for lunch, it would force the fish against the glass and try to suck it into its mouth. Don't worry, the fish was spared and the narrative came to a close. When people ask how you're doing, you just have to answer that you're okay, even if you're not. Manta rays may have devised the coolest technique to hunt. Yes, they eat plankton. It's not all that exciting, and you didn't see how manta rays travel around. They travel in search of food, and the scene appears like something out of a science fiction film. There would be no crabs left in Australian seas if there were so many stingrays in Port Phillip, but returning to hunting, stingrays approach each other, producing a funnel with swarms of plankton in the center. All that's left is to hunker down and eat on the go. Stingrays utilize a distinct strategy when feeding on the top of the water, producing wave-like motions and plunging deeper one after another, row by row, and occasionally jumping out of the water. Perhaps to attract females or to inform others that they've located food. Come on, it's impossible not to adore it, and I'm not even a stingray. Manta rays, on the other hand, are gentle creatures that will not assault a human, even if they try to draw them in with the water. Electric rays, on the other hand, are a different matter. They have specific electrical organs on both sides of their skulls, according to evolution. These are batteries that produce 50 to 220 volts, which is enough to knock down an adult, but not enough to kill him. A single electrical discharge lasts roughly 0.03 seconds unless the stingray victim has cardiac problems, but rays tend to make a series of them until they win. The poisonous barb on the stingray's tail, however, is the most prevalent weapon. It is not found in all species, but it was this barb that killed a well-known naturalist, Steve Irwin. The terrified stingray attacked him in the heart with a piercing stingray, piercing his chest. Because this poison is not lethal to humans, Irwin would have lived if the barb had struck somewhere else, but as I previously said, this stingray only attacked the naturalist because it was terrified. Other than that, they have no motivation to harm people. We're not on their food, and they're not as interested in biting people for study as sharks are. Yet stingray assaults are on the rise. Their population appears to be growing, which implies that individuals are becoming more and more likely to walk on a stingray in shallow waters. For millions of years, our planet just does not have enough sharks. They've done everything they can to keep the stingray population down to a bare minimum. It's tough to increase your population by hunting them because you can be devoured at any time, but times have changed. There are a lot of stingrays, which has become a problem, not only for spider crabs, but also for the impoverished people that congregate in Port Phillip Bay who are not just devoured by stingrays. This is a veritable feast for all area species. Seagulls, seas, dolphins, and even other spider crabs are all too weak to consume after molting, so they must replenish their strength. Why put in the effort when cannibalism is an option? No love for thy neighbor, then. Do you know who comes in second place in Port Phillip when it comes to crab eating? After stingrays and starfish, what's next? Aggressive corals aren't meant to exist so far south, but this species was introduced to local waters and they treated it like a resort, especially with so much food around that they can't fight back. Scientists are already afraid that they, along with the stingrays, may consume all of the spider crabs in a matter of seconds. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing video from us.